You're about to hear a story that shouldn't be possible. One that still makes my hands tremble when I talk about it. Because the truth is this. Sometimes a camera captures more than reality. It captures the afterlife. I didn't believe in signs, spirits, or life after death science until the night my dog reacted to something I couldn't see. But the camera did see it, and what appeared in that photo changed everything I thought I knew. Stay with me because what happened next is the kind of revelation you never forget. This isn't just a strange event caught on video. This is a doorway that opened inside my house. A doorway made of light, memory, and something far more powerful than fear. And the craziest part? It all started because of my dog, who seemed to recognize the presence instantly. If you've ever wondered whether the soul continues, whether love survives death, this story may shake you. Because the camera didn't just capture a moment, it captured a message. Before we begin, do this: subscribe, like, and share this video. Not just to support the channel, but because someone out there needs to hear this story. Someone who lost a friend, a parent, a pet, or a part of themselves. Someone who still feels that invisible tug of connection and wonders if it's real. Trust me, by the end of this video you'll know the answer. It was on a quiet night, the kind where every sound feels louder, that the camera first revealed something impossible. The dog had walked into the room, tail wagging slowly, as if greeting someone unseen. When the shutter clicked, a strange ripple of light curled around him. It wasn't a reflection, and it wasn't a glitch. The shape felt intentional, almost familiar. And that was when the whisper of fear mixed with curiosity for the first time. As he zoomed into the photo, the glow seemed to pulse like a heartbeat frozen mid-air. It stretched toward the dog as though reaching out, forming an outline that defied logic. There was warmth in the light, something gentle yet undeniably otherworldly. He felt that odd sensation, like someone standing behind you when the room is empty. But the deeper he stared, the more he sensed the photo wasn't showing everything yet. The dog's expression made everything stranger. He wasn't scared at all. Instead, he looked comforted, almost relieved, as if recognizing the presence. Animals, after all, often sense what humans overlook, especially between life and death. This thought lingered in his chest, tightening with every second. And the question formed naturally: what exactly had the dog seen that he hadn't? When he transferred the photo to the computer, the light shifted color slightly. A soft blue hue appeared, curling like smoke in slow motion, impossibly alive. It reminded him of something he once heard: spirits appearing as luminous forms. The idea felt too wild to accept, but too real to dismiss. And yet, something in the back of his mind whispered that this was only the beginning. He printed the image, hoping physical paper would expose the truth or the lie. But instead, the light seemed even clearer, as if the photograph enhanced it. It wasn't random. It had symmetry, intention, almost a signature of identity. A chill ran through him as the dog stared at the printed photo with quiet recognition. And that's when he realized the lens had captured far more than he was prepared to understand. The following days felt strangely heavier, as if the air carried a secret he wasn't ready to confront. Every time he walked past the printed photo, the same gentle blue glow seemed to call to him. It wasn't bright or aggressive, just quietly present, like a memory refusing to fade. The dog, meanwhile, kept returning to the spot where the picture was taken. And each time, he wagged his tail with a tenderness that made the silence feel alive. He couldn't ignore the feeling anymore. The light in the photo wasn't random at all. It felt like a bridge, a thread stitched between two worlds. One seen, one felt. The dog behaved as though someone familiar stood in the room, just beyond human reach. There was longing in the space, a nostalgic warmth that pressed softly against the heart. Yet the deeper that feeling grew, the more questions surfaced about who or what was reaching out. Late at night, he found himself sitting beside the dog, watching the shadows shift. The house creaked in soft rhythms, almost like breathing, as if something moved gently through it. He remembered stories about spirits appearing to animals before humans notice anything. And for the first time, he wondered if the camera had captured a farewell, or a beginning. But the thought felt too big to grasp without unraveling something inside himself first. One evening, a warm draft brushed his arm, strange, because every window was closed. It wasn't the cold, unsettling chill described in ghost stories. It felt comforting instead, like a hand made of light passing by, reminding him of someone he once missed deeply. The dog lifted his head and followed the invisible path with calm recognition. And in that moment, he realized longing wasn't always painful. Sometimes it was proof of connection. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that the glow in the photograph wanted to reveal more. That maybe the camera had only captured the first layer of something much larger. The space between light and longing was thinning, stretching, trying to speak. The dog sensed it with honest certainty, tail thumping softly against the floor. And he knew. The next sign wouldn't come from the photo, but from the room itself. The name Raphael hadn't crossed his mind in months, not since the funeral. Yet one night, while staring at the glowing photo, the memory hit him like a quiet storm. Raphael had been the one who taught him to use that very camera years ago. A mentor, a brother in spirit, someone who saw beauty where others saw nothing. And suddenly, the light in the image felt far less random and far more personal. He remembered the last picture they ever took together. Raphael laughing, sunlight behind him. The warmth in that moment felt eerily similar to the presence around the dog now. It wasn't grief this time. It was recognition, soft and undeniable, as if Raphael's essence lingered in the glow, trying to tell him something he once knew. But the thought raised a deeper question he wasn't ready to face. The dog began sleeping beside the printed photo every night, almost protectively. He watched the animal breathe calmly, as though comforted by an invisible companion. There was no fear, no tension, only a peaceful understanding beyond words. A bond forming between the living and something just out of sight. And that bond made the air hum with a strange, familiar electricity. One dawn, the light in the photo appeared slightly brighter than before. It wasn't possible, yet he felt the change in his chest more than in his eyes. The printed paper seemed to hold movement, like memory trying to step into reality. He traced the glow with his fingertips, feeling an emotion he hadn't touched in years. Not sadness, connection, the kind that survives even the final breath. He whispered Raphael's name for the first time since the burial. The dog lifted his head, ears alert, as if hearing another voice respond. The room thickened with a quiet presence, calm and unmistakable. Felt like Raphael standing there, patient, waiting for him to understand. And he knew the camera hadn't recorded a coincidence. It had recorded a message. The camera, once just an object on a shelf, began to feel strangely alive. Every time he walked past it, a soft warmth pulsed from the metal frame. It was subtle, like the echo of a touch, as though someone familiar held it moments before. The dog always glanced toward it, tail lifting with gentle recognition. And he realized the lens wasn't just recording memories anymore. It was carrying them. Late evenings became a ritual of quiet observation. He would sit on the floor, staring at the device that once captured ordinary life. Now it felt like a doorway, a thin glass boundary between presence and absence. Sometimes the faintest flicker danced across its surface, almost like breathing light. He wanted to believe it was just imagination, yet his heart knew better. As he reviewed old photos taken with the camera, patterns began to emerge. Little glimmers, soft streaks, strange curves of brightness appeared in many of them. He had dismissed them before as lens flares or dust, but they looked intentional now, like someone had been trying to reach him long before he was ready to see. And the realization made his chest tighten with a bittersweet ache. One night, he placed the camera on his lap, hands resting gently over it. The metal warmed under his palms, almost like a heartbeat responding to his touch. Memories of Raphael teaching him photography flooded back. His laughter, his patience. It felt as if Raphael's essence still lingered in the device they once shared, as though the camera had become a bridge neither distance nor death could break. The dog approached, resting his head beside the camera, sighing softly. In that small gesture, there was a quiet truth. They were not alone. The room held a presence as gentle as moonlight, as steady as a promise. Something or someone was staying close, watching with love rather than fear. And he sensed the next revelation would come not from the lens, but from what moved through it. The night the sky seemed to open began like any other, quiet, still, almost too normal. He placed the photo on the table, meaning only to look at it one last time. But as the lights dimmed, the blue glow in the image brightened in a slow, deliberate pulse. It wasn't reflecting anything. It was emanating from within the photograph itself, and for the first time he felt the room expanding around him, like the air was thinning. A soft vibration moved through the floor, gentle yet unmistakable. The dog lifted his head, ears perked, staring toward the photo with calm certainty. The glowing shape began to stretch, widening as though peeling open a seam in the air. It wasn't frightening. It was beautiful, serene, like watching dawn unfold underwater. He sensed a presence forming behind that curtain of light, patient and familiar. The room hummed with a frequency almost musical, a tone that resonated deep in the chest. He stepped closer, drawn by instinct rather than curiosity, as though answering a call. Shadows softened, edges blurred, and time felt strangely elastic. The dog's tail wagged slowly, confidently, as if greeting an old friend long overdue, and the light continued to unfold, shaping itself into something almost recognizable. He didn't see a face, only a silhouette made of calm, warm luminance. But he knew without doubt, without fear, who it was. There are recognitions that bypass the eyes and strike straight into memory. The presence radiated a quiet love, the kind that never dissolves with death. And in that moment, the sky above him felt impossibly close, as if lowering itself to meet him. Just before the light faded, the dog sat beside him, pressing gently against his leg. He felt a final wave of peace wash through the room, soft as a goodbye and strong as a promise. The photo dimmed back to normal, but its glow had already etched itself into his soul. He knew the connection wasn't ending. It was simply shifting into another form. And as the room settled into silence, one truth remained. The sky had opened, and nothing would ever be the same. In the days that followed, the presence in the house felt different, gentler, more deliberate. It no longer appeared only through the camera or the photographs. Sometimes, a faint shimmer drifted across the walls like dust made of sunlight. Other times, the air warmed briefly, as if someone had entered the room with a soft smile. And each moment carried the unmistakable essence of Raphael. The dog noticed it first, as always. He would perk up suddenly, gaze fixed on an empty corner of the room. His tail would sway slowly, like he was greeting a familiar visitor. There was no bark, no fear, only recognition and quiet joy. And in those small reactions, he felt reassured that he wasn't imagining any of it. He began to understand that Raphael wasn't trying to scare or haunt, he was guiding. The shapes of light were like gentle reminders that love doesn't die. It transforms. Sometimes they appeared as soft arcs, other times as brief flashes of warmth. Each one carried meaning, a silent message only the heart could decode. And he felt himself changing, opening to a world he'd never believed in before. One evening, he sat with the dog, lights off, letting the quiet surround them. A single ribbon of light appeared, swaying slowly in the middle of the room. It moved with intention, not random, not chaotic, almost like a gesture of reassurance. He felt a calm certainty pulse through him, an understanding without words. Raphael had found a way back, not in body, but in presence, in pure luminous essence. When the ribbon of light faded, he didn't feel loss. Instead, he felt gratitude, deep, grounding, transformative. The boundaries between life and death no longer seemed like walls, but veils. Thin, permeable, alive with connection for those willing to see. And he knew this was not goodbye at all, only the next step in a conversation of souls. The camera began revealing new patterns, subtle at first, almost too delicate to notice. Tiny arcs of brightness appeared in random snapshots, curling like whispered messages. He tried recreating them with lights, angles, and reflections, but nothing matched. Each glow carried a familiar softness, the same warmth Raphael once brought to a room. And the dog every time would approach the photo with calm recognition. He started taking pictures intentionally, hoping the lens would speak again. Not out of fear, but out of a strange comfort that had grown inside him. Some images showed faint traces of movement, like a figure made of mist. Others revealed small pulses of light hovering near the dog, never threatening. It was as if the lens had become a translator between worlds. The more he photographed, the more consistent the signs became. A curve of light always appeared near the same corner of the room. A soft glow often rested beside the dog, almost protectively. None of it felt random. Everything carried intention, presence, and memory, and he realized these signs weren't simply appearing, they were answering. One afternoon, he captured a photo that left him breathless. The glow formed a perfect arc behind the dog, shaped like a gentle embrace. Not human, not defined, but unmistakably loving in its outline. It reminded him of Raphael's way of comforting others, a quiet, warm reassurance. And for a moment, he felt the boundary between worlds soften again. He began to understand the signs for what they truly were, not warnings, not hauntings, but reminders. Proof that love, when real, bends even the laws of nature to stay close. The lens wasn't just capturing images, it was capturing presence. And he sensed a bigger revelation approaching, something the light had been preparing him for. The truth began to unfold on a night that felt strangely familiar. He left the camera recording, hoping to capture more than still frames. Hours later, when he reviewed the footage, something unexpected appeared. A soft ripple of light drifted into the frame, moving with calm purpose. Not random, not accidental, like someone entering the room with intention. The dog reacted instantly in the video. He lifted his head, ears alert, tail wagging in slow, meaningful strokes. He wasn't startled, he was greeting. The light approached him, pausing just inches from his face, shimmering gently. It was a meeting, not an encounter, two beings recognizing one another across worlds. The light then shifted toward the camera, and for a moment, the screen brightened. It wasn't a glitch, the glow seemed to lean forward, observing, acknowledging. Almost as if Raphael was looking directly through the lens, seeing him from the other side. A silent moment passed, charged with familiarity and quiet affection. And then the glow receded, drifting back toward the dog as if guiding him. As he watched, his heart tightened with awe rather than fear. The light circled the dog in a slow, graceful arc, like a guardian checking on a friend. The dog relaxed fully, lying down beside the shimmering presence. Their connection felt ancient, deep, and profoundly natural. And he realized Raphael had chosen the dog as the bridge between their worlds. When the footage ended, he sat in silence for a long time. Not shaken, but transformed by what he had seen. The camera wasn't just witnessing the afterlife, it was participating in it, capturing the continuation of a bond that death failed to erase. And he sensed that something even more personal was yet to be revealed. Balu, the loyal dog, had become more than a companion. He was a messenger. Every time the light appeared, Balu responded with calm certainty. It was as if he stood on a bridge only animals could sense, connecting two worlds. While humans questioned the impossible, Balu simply recognized truth. And in his gentle reactions, the invisible bridge took shape. One morning, Balu walked to a corner of the room he rarely visited. He sat down, tail lightly brushing the floor, eyes fixed on empty space. A soft glow emerged, barely visible, swirling in delicate spirals. Balu leaned forward, not afraid, just peacefully aware. It was the same energy that had embraced the dog in the footage. Watching Balu interact with the unseen presence softened something inside him. Proved that the afterlife wasn't distant or abstract. It was present, intertwined. The bridge wasn't made of steps or words but of connection. The kind that survives, transforms, and returns in unexpected ways. And Balu was walking it with the ease of someone guided by love. Later that evening, Balu rested his head on his lap, unusually tender. A faint warmth spread through the room, like a quiet intention floating in the air. He felt a gentle pressure beside him, the weight of someone sitting without form. It wasn't frightening, it felt like companionship rediscovered. Raphael's presence was there, unmistakably close, carried through Balu's quiet trust. He began to understand the deeper meaning of the invisible bridge. It was built not from mystery, but from unwavering affection. From Raphael to Balu, from Balu back to him, a loop of love unbroken by death. The bridge wasn't something to cross, it was something to feel. And soon he sensed that bridge would reveal its purpose fully. The idea seemed impossible, yet the evidence kept growing. Raphael was sending messages. Not through words or voices, but through the only medium they had once shared deeply, photography. Each new image captured by the camera contained impossible patterns of light. Not random, not chaotic, consistent, intentional, almost coded. As if Raphael was learning how to speak again, using the language they both loved. One photo appeared brighter than the rest, glowing even before he touched it. Inside the frame, a small spiral of light hovered above Balu's head. It moved like handwriting, tracing a curve that felt familiar. A symbol Raphael used when teaching him how to adjust exposure. A private reminder, unmistakably personal, bridging life and afterlife. Another photo captured something even more profound. The light arranged itself into two parallel lines, bending slightly inward. It was the exact composition rule Raphael drilled into him, the leading lines. A photography lesson transformed into a message of presence. He stared at the image, heart trembling under the weight of recognition. The more photos he developed, the clearer the communication became. The shapes shifted from abstract to meaningful, like a soul learning how to write again. Each photo revealed a bit more of Raphael's essence. His humor, his patience, his warmth. Some glows curled like smiles. Others stretched like welcoming arms. It felt like watching someone rediscover how to touch the world. He realized these weren't just photos, they were proof of continuity. Raphael hadn't disappeared. He had adapted, evolved, found a new form of expression. The afterlife wasn't silence, but transformation in its purest form. And the camera had become their channel, a bridge between existence and essence. Yet a lingering truth remained. Raphael was preparing him for something greater. The house began to shift in subtle, almost poetic ways. Light pooled in corners where shadows once lingered, forming soft, graceful patterns. Every glow felt like a syllable, every flicker like a word being shaped. It was as if the walls themselves had learned the language Raphael used in the lens. And the silence of the house became a canvas for messages made of brightness. Sometimes the lights danced gently across the floor at dawn. Other times, they hovered near the ceiling, moving with the rhythm of breathing. The dog followed them quietly, tail swaying like he understood every sentence. He watched Balu and realized the lights weren't random decorations. They were conversations, gentle exchanges between presence and memory. One evening, a beam of soft golden shimmer stretched across the living room. Pulsed 3 times, paused, then pulsed again like a pattern being repeated. He remembered Raphael tapping his shoulder in that same rhythm during photo shoots. A playful signal meaning, pay attention, something beautiful is happening. And suddenly, he felt the same warmth he once felt beside his friend. The lights grew bolder over time, sketching shapes on the walls. Not clear figures, but impressions, half-formed silhouettes made of warmth. They moved like someone walking slowly through the room, observing the living. The dog followed at a respectful distance, ears relaxed, heart at ease. And he understood. Raphael was exploring, rediscovering the home he once knew. As he stood in the center of the room, the lights shifted one last time. They formed a gentle arc above him and Balu, like a blessing made of illumination. Not a goodbye, not a warning, just presence, eternal and patient. The house had become a sanctuary for 2 worlds, stitched together by love. But he sensed this was not the final message, only the prelude to the truth waiting ahead. He began to notice that the light behaved differently whenever he felt emotional. Moments of sadness brought a soft, comforting glow, like a hand resting on his shoulder. Moments of gratitude made the room brighten, gentle and warm. It was as if Raphael responded not to words, but to the vibrations of the heart. Love, he realized, was becoming visible, captured frame by frame. One afternoon, he snapped a photo without thinking, just following instinct. The image revealed a luminous wave curling around him and Balu like an embrace. It held no sharp lines, no coldness, only warmth shaped into form. The kind of warmth reserved for someone you once held dear. He stared at the photo, breath trembling with both longing and peace. Over the next days, more photos mirrored his emotions. When he felt grateful, the light shone in soft gold tones. When he felt reflective, it appeared in pale blue, calm and thoughtful. Each hue carried meaning, like a love letter written in color. And he learned to read those colors the way one reads expressions on a familiar face. Balu seemed to sense each shift before he did. The dog would sit beside him, nudging gently when the glow appeared. It felt like both of them were learning a new language, one of presence, memory, and affection. A language that required no spoken grammar, only sincerity. And the deeper he listened, the clearer the messages became. One night, as he reviewed the images, he felt a truth settle into him. Love doesn't fade when the body does, it changes form, finding new ways to return. Every glow, every shimmer, every silent embrace in those photographs proved it. The camera wasn't showing the afterlife, it was showing continuity. And he knew the next revelation would take him beyond the lens entirely. He never expected anyone else to understand what he was experiencing. But everything changed the day he met the woman from the spiritual photography group. She carried an old camera and a calm confidence, as if the unseen was familiar to her. When she saw the glowing images, she didn't look shocked. She looked moved. It was the first time someone recognized the light without hesitation. She explained that some souls communicate through patterns rather than appearances. Light is the purest form of expression, she said softly. It carries intention long before it carries shape. Her words resonated deeply, fitting perfectly with everything he'd witnessed. Balu pressed his head against her leg, sensing her sincerity instantly. She told him she had once received similar messages after losing someone dear. Patterns of brightness would appear in her home, responding to her emotions. Over time, the lights began guiding her, comforting her, teaching her to listen differently. Her story mirrored his own, echoing the bridge he had formed with Raphael. And for the first time, he realized he wasn't alone in this phenomenon. The woman studied his photos carefully, tracing the curves of light with gentle fingers. She noticed consistencies he had overlooked, repeating arcs, mirrored shapes, familiar pulses. These aren't random occurrences, she said. They're conversations. He felt a warmth spread through him, equal parts relief and revelation. Someone else could read what he had only been feeling intuitively. Before leaving, she placed her hand on the camera and closed her eyes. The presence here is loving, she whispered, and it's growing stronger. Her voice carried certainty, not superstition. He felt the air shift slightly, a quiet affirmation from the unseen, and he sensed that the message Raphael wanted to deliver was finally approaching its full truth. He had always known Raphael loved his cameras more than most people loved their possessions. But he never imagined that one of them, the oldest, the most worn, would hold such meaning now. The woman's visit stirred something inside him, urging him to look through Raphael's belongings. In a dusty box at the back of a closet, he found it. Raphael's final camera. A piece of history, a vessel of memories, heavy with quiet purpose. When he lifted it, a faint warmth pulsed through the metal, subtle but unmistakable. It felt like the camera remembered him, remembered Raphael, remembered their shared moments. Even Balu reacted, tail wagging softly as he approached the relic. The lens, though scratched and old, reflected a strange shimmer of blue light. It was the same color that had appeared in the photographs, the color of presence. He placed Raphael's camera beside his own, and the room shifted gently. It wasn't dramatic, just a soft wave of warmth drifting through the air. For a moment, it felt like two worlds aligning, two instruments resonating together. The old camera seemed to hum with a familiar emotion, longing mixed with gratitude, as if Raphael was acknowledging this meeting, this reunion of tools and souls. He raised the camera to his eye, unsure what he expected to see. The viewfinder shimmered, not with clarity, but with possibility. Shapes of light moved within it like slow currents underwater. Not the physical room, something deeper, layered behind reality. And he understood, this camera wasn't meant to capture the world outside, but the world beyond. As he lowered it, a quiet certainty settled into him. This wasn't just Raphael's last camera, it was his last message. A bridge, a key, a reminder that love carves its own pathways through existence. He felt Balu press against his leg, grounding him in the moment. And he sensed the next step waiting, one final truth still hidden in the light. The day that changed everything began without drama, just sunlight filtering through the curtains. He picked up Raphael's old camera, feeling its familiar weight settle into his hands. Something inside him whispered that this moment mattered, though he didn't know why. Balu sat quietly by the door, watching with unusual focus, as if anticipating what came next. The air felt charged, not tense, alive, expectant, sacred. He raised the camera and snapped a single photo, instinct guiding the movement. There was no flash, no sound beyond the soft click of the shutter. But the room shifted instantly, the light bending in ways that defied logic. A warm pulse spread from the center outward, like a heart awakening beneath the floor. And in that pulse, he felt Raphael's presence settle around him like a familiar embrace. When he viewed the image, his breath caught in his chest. The photo didn't show the room, it showed a landscape made of light. Soft hills of gold, drifting currents of blue, gentle arcs of white. A place that felt impossibly distant yet intimately known, like a memory he had never lived. And standing within that luminous world was a silhouette he recognized instantly. Raphael's form wasn't human, yet it carried every essence of him: warmth, humor, serenity. A shape of pure light, waving gently, as though inviting him to understand. This wasn't a farewell. It was an unveiling, a revelation of what had always been just beyond perception. A truth he had sensed in pieces now unfolding in full clarity. Tears rose, not of grief, but of awe, gratitude, release. The boundary between life and death dissolved in that single photograph. He felt Balu lean against him, grounding him in the beauty of the moment. Love had not only survived, it had transformed, illuminated, transcended. And from that day on, he knew the camera hadn't changed everything. Love had. In the end, what the camera captured wasn't a ghost, a glitch, or a coincidence. It was love refusing to disappear. A reminder that the bonds we create in life don't break when the body is gone. They evolve, transform, illuminate. Whether it appeared through a shimmer on the lens, a glowing silhouette, or the calm reaction of a loyal dog, the message was the same. The afterlife isn't a distant place. It's a presence, a whisper, a warmth that returns in the exact moment we're ready to see it. And once you see it, the world never looks the same again. So now I ask you, have you ever felt something or someone near you when logic said no? Have you seen signs, lights, dreams, or coincidences that made you wonder? Do you believe animals sense the other side before we do? Tell me your story in the comments. I read every single one. If this video moved you, inspired you, or made you question what's possible, make sure to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss another story that bridges worlds. Share this with someone who needs hope, someone who misses someone who still feels the invisible thread of connection. Because light doesn't belong to one world, it belongs to anyone willing to notice it. And remember this: love is the only thing bright enough to cross the veil.